Hello and welcome to another video of our yearbook. For today's video we will talk about Enyo, the Galenta assault frigate. This is the best brawler among assault frigates. It has a lot of damage and it's pretty mobile. If you want some comparison, you can think of Incursus. Enyo is very similar to Incursus, it's just better in every way. So in terms of popularity and win rates, Enyo is kind of in the middle for popularity among assault frigates, and it has pretty reasonable win rates. Enyo is lacking a bit of flexibility compared to Ishkor and Hawk. So these are, I would say, a bit better assault frigates overall, but the win rate and my experience tells that it's still very respectable and it's a very usable ship. Enyo has a 5-3-4 slot layout, which is quite reasonable for this ship role. You can fit enough control and enough damage for it to work. In the vast majority of cases, I'd say like 90 to 95% of the time, Enyos will be blaster fit. But railgun kiting fits are usable as well. The biggest strength of this ship is high damage output. It has 50% bonus to damage with perfect skills. And with blasters you can quite easily hit past 500 DPS. The tank is acceptable. You will usually need to spend one low slot to plug your explosive resist hole, because explosive resist rigs will damage your speed. And the biggest weakness, as usual with Galenta brawlers, is control. Enyo has only 3 medium slots, so you will have typically macro warp drive, scrum, and web. And any ship with an afterburner, scrum web, or double webs will have better control. And this is the biggest weakness, because once you are facing scrum kiters, the matchups get quite tricky, because blasters cannot really apply that well to like 8 to 10 kilometers range even with null. In terms of matchups, as usual, Enyo can beat all Tech 1 destroyers and Tech 1 frigates very easily. Against Navy destroyers, as usual with assault frigates, like a close-range assault frigates that engage in DPS races, it really comes down to the type of damage. So if your opponent shoots in the Tech 2 resists, then Enyo is favorite, and if your opponent shoots into the resist hole, then the Navy destroyer is favorite. So typically Enyo will have a decent win rate against Navy Catalyst and Navy Cormorant, and it will have like below 50% win rate against Navy Courser and especially Navy Thrasher. Against Navy frigates, again, it's a pretty usual story. If Navy frigates have a control, it's typically a draw, unless Navy frigate has a very specific counterfeit to the Enyo. And if Navy frigate does not have a control, it's a win for Enyo. So it usually balances out at something like 65 to 70% win rate. And against our assault frigate, Enyo is not the best. Firstly, because it's kinetic and thermal locked, and like almost in half of situations you will shoot into the Tech 2 resist hole, which is not great. And secondly, Enyo just doesn't really have the control to apply the DPS against many assault frigates, And if you can't apply full DPS against a very tanky frigate, when you are not really going to win the DPS race. So most of the matchups against assault frigates are quite tricky for this ship. Alright, now let's look at feats. So this is the brawling feat that you will see all the time, and it typically looks like this. You have a Makarov Drive, Scrum and Web in medium slots. Almost always Enyos will have Makarov Drive fitted, because they really just want to get close on the initial approach and overwhelm you with DPS, and Makarov Drive works better. And it also provides like a safety against web kiters and kiters. So this fit just generally works better against the engagement profile when we one with an afterburner. Next you have 3 modules for tanking in low slots and 1 DPS module. Generally you need to plug your resist hole with the coating. You can do it with a rig, but this will kill your speed, and it's really not ideal for a ship that kinda lacking control in the first place. So usually you have a coating, and then like 2 usual slots for assault frigates is the ADC and ancillary rep. The guns are neutron blasters, obviously. Some people drop rocket launchers to upgrade the damage control and scrum. I feel like it's better to have like a little bit more DPS with the rocket launcher, but it's up to personal preferences. Enyo gets a bonus to tracking, so generally you want to use Void to maximize DPS, and usually Enyo does not really have any issues with application in optimal range. And the rigs are more damage and a little bit more tank. And Enyo gets 1 drone. This is kind of a reference to Curses, which also has a single drone. Okay, and the second feat that's quite a bit of meta, but I think it works, especially as a surprise weapon, is the kiting Enyo with railguns. So the reason why it works reasonably well is that the vast majority of people will think that Enyo is a brawler, and they will not meet you on the warping. And it means that you can engage out of position usually without worrying that you will get scrummed on the warping, because people will not sit exactly on the warping inside complex. And this is actually one of the biggest problems for kiters, is that how do you engage out of position? And the Enyo kind of solves this problem because it fits very nicely in the meta. But generally, of course, this fit is a bit weaker than like a Chitin Ishkor, Chitin Hawk, and Chitin Retribution. But it's not that bad. It's still quite usable. The fit is quite straightforward. 150 railguns with thorium as the default ammo, which gives you a good coverage of the 24-kilometer warp disruptor range. Then you have a mecha warp drive and a cap booster, and some tanking modules and some speed modules in the low slots. As usual, you need to plug your resist hole, especially for the Enyo, because if you face a pack of warriors, it's just gonna make your life really sad without the explosive coating. When you need a nano, at least 1, because assault frigates are just a bit too slow to fly kiting style without modules for speed and agility. And as usual, for armor kiters, you generally want an armor rep instead of ancillary rep, because it will give you a nice sustained tank for prolonged fights. And rigs are more damage and just a feeding rig. There is one alternative to this feat, which is a feat with Meta 4, 150 rail guns and a tracking disruptor, so you will free up a lot of fitting space with Meta 4 guns, and you can actually drop the cap booster and fit a tracking disruptor. It's usable. I don't really like it because you are really restricted on cap with this fit. You will have like a 1.5 minutes, which is still doable, and you also lose the ability to repair as well. It's doable. For example, slicers operate even on a lower cap, but I think it doesn't really work that well against the majority of your engagement profile. So I prefer this one. But the tracking disruptor is doable as well. Alright, so this is everything I wanted to say about this ship. It's very decent, balanced brawler. If you like this style, if you like incursus, when you can absolutely upgrade to Enyo and keep doing what you are doing with incursus. See you in the next videos.